Charles "Du Bronx" Oliveira!
They said his chin was gone. They said the wars had broken him. But in Brazil, Charles Oliveira reminded the world that legends don't fade, they evolve. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Octagon Insider. Tonight we break down one of the most mind-bending performances of the year, Charles Oliveira versus Mateusz Gamrot at UFC Brazil. The odds makers counted him out. The critics called him chinny. But Du Bronx didn't just win. He destroyed expectations, walking through Gamrot's best shots like they were mosquito bites and submitting him in the second round. The first man ever to finish Mateusz Gamrot, the king of chaos, still undefeated on Brazilian soil. Let's get into exactly what happened inside that cage and why Oliveira looked like a machine built in the favelas to remind the world that heart and violence still reign supreme. The fight begins with Gamrot doing exactly what everyone expected: pressure, volume, and wrestling entries. From the first exchange, he tries to set traps, testing Oliveira's reactions with feints and jabs. Gamrot steps in from southpaw, fires the left straight, and dives for the single leg. Perfect timing. Textbook entry. He turns the corner and gets Oliveira down. But this is where Charles is most dangerous. From the moment his back touched the canvas, Oliveira didn't defend. He attacked. He immediately went to work, throwing up his legs, isolating Gamrot's arm, and angling his hips to threaten the omoplata.
Reality, the last few days, we kept talking about smothering him, starting off strong in the first round, defend the takedowns.
Gamrot grabbed the ankle to defend, but Charles was 2 moves ahead, anticipating Gamrot's stand-up before it even happened. He reached behind, hooked the ankle, and anchored Gamrot in place, locking him into a slow-motion trap. Gamrot tried to pull free. He twisted. He stretched. Nothing worked. Finally, Oliveira released the position only to set up the next trap. And that's the beauty of Oliveira's jiu-jitsu. It's not reactive. It's predictive. He doesn't just counter. He creates chaos. This moment defined the round. Oliveira wasn't looking to submit right there. He was looking to reverse. Gamrot wanted to pass guard, but Charles's left foot wedged perfectly into his thigh, blocking the transition. His knee cut across Gamrot's midsection like a steel gate. Gamrot kept pressing forward, but it was a trap. Oliveira latched onto the arm again, another omoplata. Gamrot resisted, stepped over, and for a split second it looked like he escaped. But that was exactly what Charles wanted. Using that motion, he rolled through, built momentum, and flipped the position completely, now on top. Gamrot's instinct kicked in. He went for a leg lock, hoping to scramble, but Oliveira saw it coming. He stood up, rotated, yanked his leg free, and came down right into side control. That single mistake, Gamrot trying to stand instead of recovering guard, changed the tone of the entire fight. Once Charles got to side control, the crowd roared. He was calm, calculated. Gamrot tried to turtle, but Charles was already transitioning, floating on top of him like water filling every opening. He snaked in one hook, then the other. Now back control. Gamrot was in trouble. Oliveira tightened his seatbelt grip, teasing a rear naked choke.
I hit him. He went down to his back, pulled guard. Gaethje hit him, hurt him. He went down to the guard. Poirier hit him, hurt him, and he went down to guard. He was knowingly forcing himself to go to the guard and forcing you to make a decision. Okay, you hit me. Okay, I went down. Now come into my world. And most guys don't go on top of him.
Gamrot fought the hands, survived the round, but the message was clear. If you grapple with Charles Oliveira, you drown. Round 2 begins, and Charles comes out with fire in his eyes. Gone is the patient technician from round 1. This version, a full-blown juggernaut. He walks Gamrot down. No respect for his power. No hesitation. Gamrot throws combinations, clean shots, right on the jaw, but Oliveira doesn't even blink. The Weasel said it best. He looked like Kelvin Gastelum with a titanium skull. Gamrot hit him flush, but it was like trying to hurt a wall with a tennis ball. Oliveira keeps marching forward, stalking, smiling. Gamrot fires the jab cross. Charles slips, clinches, and delivers a brutal right uppercut, followed by a left hook. The Polish fighter backs up toward the fence. Another combo, another clinch. This time Oliveira changes levels, shoots for a takedown of his own. Gamrot defends with a knee shield, but Charles doesn't care. He lifts Gamrot off the ground, drives him halfway across the cage, and slams him down.
The thing about Oliveira is everybody looks at Oliveira at his lowest points. In his lowest points, Cub Swanson knocked him out, Paul Felder smashed him, all these people beat him, but something happened when that dude had a kid. And there's a fire inside of him like the fucking center of the sun. And I don't know what it is, man, but he's a different human.
Gamrot holds onto a wizard grip, trying to keep control. Charles patiently waits. The second Gamrot releases. Oliveira slides behind and secures the back. In an instant, the entire arena knows it's over. Seatbelt grip, right arm over the shoulder, left under the armpit. Gamrot focuses on the choking arm, smart, but Charles feints the attack, grabs Gamrot's right wrist, forcing him to release the defense. Now both of Gamrot's hands are out of position. Oliveira threads his arm under the chin. Gamrot panics, tries to lift an elbow, push the forearm, but Charles is already steps ahead. He brings the right leg across, sinks both hooks, and locks it in. Gamrot is stuck, his neck trapped between the arms of the best finisher in UFC history. One squeeze, 2 seconds later, the tap. Game over. Charles Oliveira, the first man to ever finish Mateusz Gamrot. He stood up, screamed to the crowd, and the Brazilian arena exploded. Still undefeated in Brazil, still the submission king, still do Bronx. Gamrot, to his credit, showed class, taking the fight on short notice and fighting a killer like Oliveira in his home country. He didn't make excuses, he just nodded in respect, knowing he'd shared the cage with greatness. So how did Oliveira do it? How did he turn a dangerous, cardio-heavy wrestler like Gamrot into prey?
Let me ask you this. Who wins that fight, Charles Oliveira and Mateusz Gamrot?
I've thought a lot about this, actually, because I was thinking Charles didn't want to take this fight at first, and that spoke a lot to me. What is kind of going to sway my decision? Even though it's on short notice, I'm going to go with Gamrot getting the W on this.
It all came down to psychology and respect. In round 1, Gamrot respected himself too much, believing he could hang in the grappling. He couldn't. In round 2, Oliveira lost all respect, realizing Gamrot couldn't hurt him. That switch flipped something primal inside him. From that moment, Charles fought with zero fear, just pressure, pressure, pressure. Gamrot was still landing, but every punch made him more demoralized. You could see it in his eyes. Each shot that landed clean and did nothing broke him a little more. And that's what makes Oliveira terrifying. When he realizes he can take your power, he transforms. The calm technician becomes a wild force, unstoppable, unrelenting, inevitable. What we saw in Brazil wasn't just a win, it was evolution. Remember the version of Charles from the Dustin Poirier and Islam Makhachev fights? Wild, emotional, reckless? This Charles is different. Still dangerous, still violent, but calmer, smarter. He took calculated risks, using chaos as a weapon instead of being consumed by it. He absorbed damage, tested Gamrot's power, and when he saw the opening, he finished him with surgical precision.
In the first takedown defense, I thought I was going to grab the guillotine, but I got ahead of myself a little bit. If you see my other fights, you see that I'm always trying to submit, and if you watch this...
From a technical perspective, Gamrot actually landed more strikes. He had moments of success, right hooks around the guard, quick entries, smooth combinations, but none of it mattered. Why? Because Oliveira dictated the terms of engagement. Every time Gamrot landed, Oliveira answered with pressure, closing distance, forcing clinches, and turning exchanges into grappling scrambles. It's not about how many shots you land. It's about who controls the chaos. And nobody controls chaos like Charles Oliveira. Gamrot is an elite wrestler, but against Oliveira, his wrestling became his downfall. The moment he felt that first omoplata, you could see the change. No more shots, no more takedown attempts. He was done grappling. That fear of the ground forced him to strike, but striking isn't his strongest weapon, and against Oliveira's aggression, it became a losing battle. Gamrot needed space and patience. Oliveira gave him neither. Momentum is everything in MMA. Gamrot started strong, but once Oliveira walked through his cleanest shots, the fight's energy flipped instantly. Gamrot's confidence bled out of him. Oliveira's grew. And that's what defines champions, not the technique, not even the skill, but the ability to smell weakness and attack it relentlessly. When Oliveira felt that Gamrot couldn't hurt him, he turned into something else entirely. That's the version that finished Justin Gaethje. That's the version that nearly broke Islam. And that's the version that can beat anyone in the world on the right night. Then came the call-out, Charles Oliveira versus Max Holloway for the BMF title. The arena lost its mind. Because technically, this would be a rematch. Their first fight ended instantly due to injury. It never really happened. Now we might finally see what would happen if the most violent grappler in UFC history meets the cleanest boxer the featherweights ever produced. Oliveira's grappling versus Max's volume striking, a war of heart, precision, and durability. Max said he'll return next year. The timeline fits perfectly. Stylistically, it's fascinating. Oliveira can't take those same punches from Max that he absorbed from Gamrot. Holloway's pace and output are different levels, but Max also can't tangle with Charles on the mat. The risk is simply too high. This fight would be about control of range. If Max can keep it standing, it's a war of attrition. If Oliveira drags it to the mat, it's lights out. And after seeing how sharp and durable Charles looked in Brazil, it's hard not to imagine him holding another belt soon. This time, the BMF strap. This win wasn't just a comeback, it was a statement. Charles Oliveira has now beaten nearly every top contender in the division, and he's still evolving. The narrative of chinny or reckless Oliveira, dead. He's composed, confident, and fighting like a man who's seen the top of the mountain and refuses to come down. Gamrot was supposed to be the hungry, dangerous test, but in Brazil, he was just another page in Oliveira's highlight reel. The legend grows. The myth deepens. And Bronx continues to remind everyone why violence can be an art form. If you're new here and still breathing after that breakdown, hit that subscribe button before Oliveira finds your back and rear naked chokes your notification bell. Seriously, it's the only safe move right now. In the end, it wasn't just a win. It was Charles Oliveira reclaiming his identity. The fearless warrior who walks through fire. The craftsman who turns chaos into beauty. The finisher who makes violence look poetic. In front of his people in his homeland, Bronx reminded the MMA world of one simple truth. Legends aren't born in the gym. They're forged in blood, doubt, and redemption. And Charles Oliveira, he's the living proof. This has been Octagon Insider. Drop your thoughts below. Could Oliveira beat Max Holloway for the BMF title? Or has Max's durability finally met its match? Thanks for watching, fight fans. See you in the next round.